All right. Well, it's starting right away, and we didn't know that. We were gonna play like the little intro video, but here's the thing: we've been away for a little while, and we're out of practice, and we just went and had lunch.
Yeah.
It was a dry lunch. You might not be able to tell from the way that this goes, but we're gonna do our best today. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony DeMakis. It's great to be back. We have a new studio. It's also not finished. But that's just the way it is. Sometimes you don't get to do everything that you want to do, right?
Right.
We've got a couple things coming up. Oh, let me tell you about the Manufacturing Alliance podcast first. We are a show for the people that want to know what happens in manufacturing, not so much the nuts, the bolts, the numbers, the data. I find it really, really boring. It's not interesting to me. I want to know about people and the stories that people have to tell and who they are and what that looks like. And if that's something that you're interested in, then this is the right show for you. If you're trying to find data, you should probably go listen to Mold Making Technology and Christina or something. But if you want to have some fun, talk about people and real life and what really matters, then welcome. I'd like to have you. I'd love to say I see you, but I don't. We've got a few things coming up that are really, really exciting. The first one is our golf outing. So every year we have a charity golf outing to support iWarriors. iWarriors is an organization that supplies iPads to combat wounded veterans. And
Nice.
on the surface, that doesn't really sound important, right? Why does a veteran need an iPad? Well, there's certain apps that are in there for PTSD struggles and for reintegrating into society, and it also is just a way to say thank you for their service. It's an amazing organization. All the money goes directly towards purchasing iPads. It was started by Tim and Kim Bartz from Moldcraft Technology. And they're amazing people. And now it's run by different organizations, Star Charities with Progressive, and it's still great. So we are looking for golfers. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for all the stuff. It's September 20th, 2024, obviously at Countryside Golf Course. It will fill up. We've sold out every year. There's a QR code on the screen. But if you're not watching and you're just listening, it's alliancelasersales.com/golf. Now, you might say, I don't play golf. Cool. We don't either. We're really not good. And it's not about the golf. It's about networking, having fun, going out, maybe having a drink or two, and really just supporting a cause. So if that's something that you're interested in, then come on out and we'd love to see you. And there's all the information there. We have IMTS coming up. That is also in September, which is a little bit stressful. It's the 9th through the 14th. Are you going to be at IMTS?
Yep.
All right.
Every single day from Sunday to Sunday. I may actually leave Saturday.
You sound really excited about that.
It's going to be a long week.
I'm
really excited about it.
The worst is Saturday.
Why is the worst Saturday?
Because nobody shows up.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We're still going to be doing some stuff.
Yeah. There. What are you going to be doing there?
I'm doing a couple things. So we are doing an event called the Manufacturing Ally Rally. It's basically a series of panel discussions that we're having from 11 to noon, Monday through Thursday. And then Friday, we'll be on the main stage, kind of just bringing it all together and summarizing the key takeaways from each discussion. And then I'm also doing the Creators Lounge, which I did 2 years ago. And it's kind of a different structure that they had 2 years ago, but that's going to be really cool because we're actually going to be talking to companies instead of just other creators in the industry and just kind of learning about the new innovations that they're bringing. And then I'm also doing some stuff for MTD CNC.
You have a very full week.
I do.
Yeah, that's good.
That's why I'm just like, oh, it's coming up soon and I got to get mentally prepared for all that. But
I mean, it's a lot, but it's an awesome week. Like if the show, like 2 years ago, the show was fantastic. A lot of people walking through there. It's a monster show. It's at McCormick Place. Mm-hmm. If you have not planned on going yet and you're into manufacturing and machining and all that, really, you need to be there. And there's also, what is it? What did you call it? The student?
It's the Smart Force Student Summit. So before they had it in the North Hall, kind of in the basement area, which was a little disconnected from the main show. So this year they're actually bringing it up to the East building on the second level. And it's just any company that really supports STEM education, they can get another booth and kind of bring in some of their machines or whatever demos that they have, and they really focus on students who are attending the show. So students can go in there, they can connect, they can collaborate, they can talk to manufacturers, they can learn about jobs that are in the sector, they can maybe sign up for apprenticeships or internships. And I know that they have like a specific program for students there, but if you want to learn more about that, you can talk to Greg Jones and Kat Ross, because they're the two that are putting it together this year.
She knows all things IMTS. It's fantastic.
Things,
like
yeah.
all the things that I don't know, at least about IMTS. I'm sure we'll cover some stuff that neither of us know.
Right. I don't know a lot because there's a lot going on. The different conferences I know very little about, but I know they're educational, so that's good.
That's great. And we are trying to have another E210 event, which is our charity. It's our way to give back. It's our community outreach. I don't think we have anything for that, Jack, if you're looking. No, but that's okay because we don't know what we're doing yet. But we are planning on doing something. E210 is based on Ephesians 2:10, which tells us that we are God's workmanship, created to do the things that He set out for us to do in Christ Jesus. And so, what we want to do is find a way to give back to every community we go into, whether it's trade shows or conferences, and just find ways to get people involved. And give back. Right.
I think that's really cool.
Let's do something more than go to a trade show and just talk about how awesome we are and everything else. So,
and it's going to be in Chicago, so I think that's a really good place to do something significant. So
stay tuned to all the channels. We will be talking more about all of that as we get closer. If you are new to the show, I hope you're going to like the show, but we have you should subscribe. You should what do they say, ring that notification bell so you know what's coming and what that's going to look like. Like us, subscribe, follow it, do all the things. We're on LinkedIn, and we might be on Instagram.
I think you are.
I don't know if it worked.
You.
All right, well, that's good.
I thought I did.
And so what we want to do is we just want to keep growing the show, not so that we can make money, but so we can make more impact. I have no thoughts that we're going to be rich from doing this. That's not a thing. But it is our platform to be able to tell good stories and reach out to people and talk about things that actually matter. So if you think you know anybody that might be interested or you want to be part of the show, we'll tell you how you can do that also. And we also have some more shows coming up. We, like I said, we're back, and we were on hiatus for a while, but we've got more things coming. So next week, we're going to have Mitch and Samantha on from Madium. And then July 31st, I believe Sean Schwartz is going to join us from Next Gen Solutions. August 7th, I think, if everything goes well, Brian Warren from Meridian Community College will be here. August 14th, Mitch Free from ZYCI CNC Machining. Do you know him at all?
What's his name?
Mitch Free.
I think so.
All right.
I have to see his face. I can't go off of names alone. I do know Jacob Sanchez and I do know Brian Warren.
Okay.
Because he's on a lot on LinkedIn sharing his story about his son.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a sad story, but it's an amazing story.
I'm really jealous that you get to talk to him because he's a good dude.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell him you said hello.
Yes, please do.
But it sounds like things are going well with Brian's son. And we'll find more about that in a couple of weeks. And then you mentioned Jacob Sanchez. That is August 21st. And then friend of ours, friend of the show, nice additive guy, David Ramirez from Howco Group will be on August 28th. And we're already working on September. So that's what we have coming up.
That's a lot.
It is. I'm so excited that we're actually moving forward, because it was like, we were doing a good job, but there's so many other things that come up. And so I'm glad that Jack is here. My son is here, and he's going to be taking over, getting the podcast going.
But not for very long.
If you, well, no, he's going to work on it at school too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's cool. The plan.
You could do school projects with it.
So if you want to make my son look good, you should watch the show, because he's going to get credit for that. And that would be amazing for all of us involved. I think that covers all the coming up things. Yeah. Whoa, man. We are starting a new YouTube channel. It is just the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. This one is not on there because we didn't know how to do it right. But I think we have it all worked out now. Megan's sitting here going, "What did I get myself into? This guy
No,
doesn't
this
know
is
what
fun.
he's
It's so
doing."
interesting.
It's so interesting.
It's really interesting. I don't know how like you keep track of everything. Like as a business owner,
Yeah.
like with responsible for other people, like you yeah, you have a really good attitude. I think I would lose my mind about now. Just
You think so?
yeah. I mean, it's just me. You have to remember like I guess I have a business, but it's just me. No one.
I'll say it's really, really important to surround yourself with good people
Yeah,
and
for
have
sure.
leadership and management that you can trust to help you have success.
That's a
And
good
so I
point.
feel very fortunate with the team that we have in place to be able to do that. Where, you might ask? At Alliance. We didn't even mention that. So we are Alliance Specialties in Laser Sales. And so what does that mean? It means that we're mold makers that don't build molds. We do all the other stuff. We do polishing, laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner repair, preventative mold maintenance. That's our bread and butter. We don't want to build molds. That's your job. We just want to service you the best way we can. And then we also make a line of laser welding and laser engraving equipment in the US, which is kind of rare
Yeah,
to be
that's
making
really
stuff
cool
in the
though.
US. So if you have any questions about what we do or who we are, come on, you can go. There you go. You can visit alliancelasersales.com and find out everything that we do there. We are a live show, believe it or not. And so that means that we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from the audience and the people that are listening. So if you have a question, you have a comment, you have something that you want to throw out there, you want to hear us talk about, go ahead and put that in the chat and we'll see it and we'll talk about it. If not, we have plenty of other things to talk about. We're not relying on you guys. That's the intro.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I have a guest today. I love having guests. Meaghan, tell us who you are.
I'm Meaghan Ziemba. I'm an industrial tech writer. So I've been writing for manufacturing and engineering since 2008. I started out in the media publication industry and not something I expected to get into. I didn't even know what professional and technical writing was until I hit Milwaukee. Yeah, like I said before, I've been writing since 2008. And then around 4 years ago, right when the pandemic was happening, everybody was flocking to social media to
Yeah.
kind of keep their sanity. And I noticed that there were a lot of conversations happening around just the different processes and technologies and everything going on. But not a lot of women were being highlighted or featured. And I kind of wanted to know why. And I would suggest names to some of these hosts, and they would say, yeah, we'll reach out to them and get back to them. And then they never did. So I just got impatient and I said, screw it, I'm going to start my own thing. So I started Mavens in Manufacturing. And so far, I've interviewed over 160 some people, mostly women. There are guys that I've interviewed, but they've are women allies. So they talk about, things that they do to better support women in male dominated industries. But most of my guests are women and they come from the shop floor all the way to the C suite. They talk about, some of the trends that they're seeing in the sector. They talk about some of the challenges that they've faced as women in the industry. They also talk about some of the really cool projects that they're doing and how they're changing the world. So it's been a trip. Like I really love hearing stories, but I also love sharing them because I feel like one of the main things we need to do a better job of is sharing those authentic stories so that we can start closing the skills gap. So,
I agree. I think it's awesome.
yeah, I love it.
Just what you have been able to do in that short period of time. Like you saw, like there's a gap, not just
Mhm.
a skills gap, but a gap in general. There's stories that need to be told. How do I step into that?
Yeah.
Especially when you say that you were working with the media companies and they were like, kind of not interested.
Well, it was just any really podcast person that was out there. So anyone that had like a channel, because I didn't think I was the appropriate fit for it because many people that know me, they know I'm not very like good at technology stuff. So I didn't know how to like start a YouTube channel or do video or any of that stuff. And I had a friend who was like, "Oh, you should use StreamYard and do it live because then you don't have to worry about editing, which is really tough, by the way. Like
It
if you
is.
are in video and you edit video, like kudos to you because I suck at it. But it's something I'm working on every day and I'm getting a little bit better at it. But yeah, I just went ahead and made an announcement on LinkedIn, and I had a bunch of women reach out to me who personally wanted to speak themselves. There were like a small number of them that were really nervous because none of them were on camera before and they just didn't want to like be misrepresented
Sure.
or mess. I think it's funny because a lot of people, I think one of their biggest fears is going on camera and then stumbling over the words, but it's like we do that all the time in natural conversation, so who cares? Like, and then there's people who cuss all the time
Yeah.
where I'm like, just drop the F-bomb. I don't care. Like, it's fine. So I know some people are against that, but I think it just adds character. So I just let people be themselves and
I think as long as it's authentic, right? If it's
yeah,
just, if you're trying to make, you're trying to be somebody that you're not, then
right,
I mean, leave it out. But
right.
if you're talking about something very passionately and something comes out, I mean, as
Yeah.
long as you're being authentic, that's,
Yeah.
I think, what matters.
I had one guest come on and her dad like interrupted our conversation, but it was the cutest thing ever because he came in front of the camera and he's like, "I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "You don't need to apologize." So I started having a conversation with him and he was talking about why he was so proud of his daughter. And like we
Oh,
all ended up just crying on camera. So it was really fun. And I think that's why people like Mavens because they know that what you see is what you're actually going to get in real life. All the people that have come on are really genuine and they really care about this sector and they're going to do what they can do to grow it more in the United States. So it's pretty fun. I like it.
so what was your biggest hurdle? So you decide like, I'm going to do this thing, right? I'm going to be a voice for people that don't have a voice. I'm going to start this manufacturing Mavens. What, what was the first step? And then what was the hurdle?
Um, I think the biggest hurdle is myself. 'Cause I'm naturally an introvert. I don't really like putting myself in a lot of like situations unless I'm really, really prepared for those situations. So I had to have like a plan from A to B complete. And I didn't know how to do video. I thought I had to do a ton of research, but as I mentioned before, this friend of mine was like, "No, that's dumb. Like you're being stupid. You're over worrying way too much. See if there's an interest first. If there's interest, come back, talk to me, and we'll figure out the rest."
Okay.
So when I announced it on LinkedIn that I had this idea and I was looking for women to interview, I literally booked out shows until April of the following year. So it was like during the
Wow.
winter months. Yeah. I think it was like, I would have to check my post, but I think it was like September or something. And then literally booked out till April of the following year. So it was just really crazy. So I went back to him. I'm like, "Okay, so I booked a shows." And he's like, "I didn't tell you to book shows. I told you to like see if there's interest." So then he got kind of nervous, but then he showed me StreamYard. He showed me a couple platforms where you could make graphics and do music and everything and not have to pay for it.
Yep.
So it was just kind of getting used to all of that. But yeah, I at that time was my own worst enemy because I was just so nervous and I didn't know if people would like it. And I'm just really passionate about getting people to be really proud in what they do and what they're making. And I felt like, okay, if this doesn't work and I fail, then I'm failing them.
Mm.
So that was another big concern of mine. I didn't want to let people down.
Yeah. I just realized that there's not many people that watch or listen to this. So I'm not really letting anybody down,
Right.
it's
But
so freeing.
they might hear the recording though.
They might.
So yeah, I don't know. I get about 30 to 40 people watching my live sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be pretty nerve wracking. But I think the other thing that's really cool is ever since I started Mavens, there's these little girls that watch them on a weekly basis.
That's
And
awesome.
two of them are from Canada and their dad gave them the hashtag junior board of directors. So they watched my podcast and some of the other ones that are out there, and they really like engineering and manufacturing. So when I had a welder on, they went to their dad when they were like, "Can we weld? Like, can we learn how to do that?" So he taught them how to weld. And then I ended sending them like welding jackets because they needed some welding jackets. So I sent them that. And they like sent me cards and they were like, "We
How
want to
old are
be."
they?
I want to say they're like 9 and 10 or 10 and 11. They're not too young, but not too old either.
So you are bringing women into engineering and manufacturing.
Yeah. So it's a trip. I
with
like
your
it.
podcast that you
Mhm.
don't know anything about. You're just interviewing people and making a difference and like throwing it out there.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a natural storyteller because I've always written my entire life. And yeah, so it's just the video stuff. And then I think the other thing too that was a little uncomfortable for me is people started paying more attention to me as an individual and calling me the Maven. And my intention for starting this wasn't like bring attention to myself. I really want other people to share their stories because they're the ones making all the cool stuff.
Right.
Um, so I'm just trying to give them that confidence to come out of their shell and share it because it's important. So um, I kind of don't like some of that attention. Like I really want people to focus on who the guests are of Mavens and really reach out to them because they're the ones with the expertise and the skill sets. And I'm just basically giving them a microphone. But um, one of my friends yelled at me because she was like, no, you're doing a really awesome thing and you need to take ownership of it and stop being so humble. And I'm like, okay, I'm not like trying to be that person, but again, it's my introvert side of things where I'm just like, no, don't look at me. Like, look at them.
Well, I think it's great to be humble about that and realize it's not all about me, but you are the face of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to recognize that you are the face of that. Like you started that movement and it's okay to say like, hey, I'm here, but I'm here representing these people.
Yeah.
Let me introduce you to these people.
That's how I like to do it. So I've always been a connector too. So I think Mavens is just another channel for me to meet people. And then if I see synergies with other people, I can connect them, which has been really fun. So I don't know. I should probably into the referral business. I don't know.
Well, that goes back to what we talked about earlier, just off camera about how too many times people are so focused on the dollar and not the relationships.
Right.
So if you get into the referral business, you're either going to go against your morals and your ideals, or you're going to be the brokest referral person ever. Because
probably be the brokest one.
Because those people are doing that for a living, right? They're like recruiting and going out there and trying to get that. Yeah.
It's so weird to me that that's a business. Like just connect people. I don't know. It's weird. It's also weird that people are getting money off of posting for other people. Like it's weird to me. I'm probably making a lot of people mad right now, but that's okay.
That's kind of what we do. It's fun. I mean, we can do that here. We can make people mad. It's fun. It's good. My dad, he's got a lot of good wisdom, and he told me one time, like, you want to be everybody's Rolodex. Like, if you can connect different people, that makes you more valuable to them in the long run. Mm-hmm. So they're going to remember you. Like, oh, I got this guy Tony. He has a guy for this.
Yeah.
And so you can just continue to form relationships and help people out. And then hopefully down the line that gets reciprocated and people remember that you helped them out.
Yeah.
And it's not about the reward right now. It's about the ultimate reward later.
Yeah.
And being able to better people in their situation and help them to find success.
Yeah. I think putting good energy out there really brings it back to you. So I just try to put as much good energy out as I can.
I mean, so far so good.
It's been working a lot better than what I used to do.
So I guess keep doing that.
Yeah.
So what do you find? You mentioned with women in engineering and manufacturing, you mentioned that like it was hard to get people to come out of their shell and be willing to share and talk. Why do you think that is?
I don't know if people will agree with this, but from my experience,
I'm not talking to other people. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I know. From my experience, like I've worked with some pretty old school companies, and like when women would try to speak up or share any of their ideas or opinions, they were kind of shushed and really assumed to be like the person to always go get the coffee or take notes or not really like look to have the great ideas or be innovative. So I think women just naturally kind of shy away from that stuff just because in male dominated industries we weren't really taken. Someone's trying to call you.
I know. Of course.
I just think that it's happened for so many years that did we go dead?
No, he's still good.
Oh, his screen froze. So then my ADHD kicked in, and I'm like, "What's going on over there?" But no, I just think that for a long time we were assumed to be a certain way, and I think women have their issues of public speaking. I do think it's getting better, so you're starting to see more and more women come out of their shell, which is nice. But I don't think that's just with women. I've had guys who, like, when they see that red light on the camera, they freeze up and they're just like,
Oh yeah.
what's going on here? So there's just something different about talking in person versus talking on camera or being recorded. And I don't know why that is. That's like happening.
Well, because you overthink everything you're going to say.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that happen to you? Where you just freeze up when you see the camera?
Oh, a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like because I got in my own head or if I was tired or if it was a combination of things. But I think sometimes life just gets to you and your brain shuts down when you don't want it to. I mean, you see celebrities do it sometimes and politicians do it. Like,
oh, we don't want to talk about that. I mean, we can, but
I mean, I just, that was the most recent thing where I saw, and I was just like, wow, this is actually being broadcasted, but okay. So yeah, I think there's just something about being on camera that makes some people nervous. So it's kind of like when you're in sales, so it's kind of like when you're trying to get someone to trust your product and buy into your product and invest in you. You kind of just have to make them trust the process and calm them down and, make them comfortable with it. So I think it's the same with anybody that hosts a podcast like this. If you have someone that's never been on camera and they're really nervous because they don't want to misrepresent themselves or misrepresent their company, you just kind of have that conversation and get them loose and get them comfortable. And then when you turn on the camera, they barely notice that it's on and you just have a conversation. So I try to make it seem like we're old friends catching up. And so if they need coffee, if they need a beer, whatever, let's do it. Yeah. So I also like have pre-briefings too. So like I'll have a half an hour conversation either a few weeks or whatever before, and then just get a general idea. And I make it about them. Like, what do you want to share?
Right.
What topics do you want to cover? What are you passionate about? We don't even have to talk about your job if you don't want to. Like, we can talk about something completely different. And I think that helps too, because then it's what they enjoy talking about, and they don't really need notes for things that they enjoy. I think with like different keynotes, and if you're at a show and you're speaking, that can be a little intimidating too, because people are there looking for statistics, and those can be hard to like memorize if you don't have I get in so much trouble because I bring notes, and I actually will have index cards and I'll put them on the podium
when you speak.
Yeah, when I speak sometimes.
And that frowned on? I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Some people say that it can affect your credibility, and I'm just it's fine. I have too much information going on in my head at once. I need note cards. So if you're gonna not like me for that, that's fine. But
I mean, if I feel like if that's what helps you get through what you're trying to present, then bring your notes.
I admire the speakers that don't need help at all.
Yeah.
And that's a goal of mine, is to get to that point.
What do you typically speak on?
So I've been speaking on workforce development, what we can do to really attract younger generations to engineering and manufacturing, how to be a mentor, why mentorship's important, what it's like being a woman in a male-dominated industry. I'll be speaking at the TMA and talking about the importance of women's stories in the industry, why we need to share our stories and be comfortable with sharing them with the younger generations, but also just using our voice more.
I think it's awesome. I ask those questions because I'm fascinated with it. I love seeing women in manufacturing and engineering. I think it's a whole different vibe and energy and personality, and I love it. And sometimes I wonder if, now I'm a man, so if I upset you, just hit me. I'm close enough where you can do that. Sometimes I wonder if it's a real thing, if it's an imaginary thing, if it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy about there not being enough women because women don't want to get involved. I don't have anything to base it on with women, but we were at an AMBA conference, which is, I'm not going to surprise anybody when I say it, a traditionally older white male population.
Mm-hmm.
There was an African-American gentleman in the crowd, and he raised his hand and he said, how do we get more people like me in this room? Valid question, right? I looked at him, I said, join the board. Get on the board and bring people to and he said, no, that's not me. I'm just saying, how do we get more people here? And I was like, well, I'm telling you, like, join the board, be the voice, let people see you. And he said, no, that's not me. I just want to know, what do we need to do? Well, you have to do it like you did with the podcast. You have to take that step. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And I get asked that question a lot. I actually was on a podcast and they were like, so how do we get more women involved in engineering and manufacturing? And I just looked at them and like, you invite them. Like you just invite them, like just
it's not that hard.
Come here, you know. But the thing is some people are like, well, we don't care what you look like. And yeah, that's all well and good. But other people do care if they don't see themselves in something. So like I talked to a couple interns at Autumn in Detroit, not this most recent one, but the one last year, and it was in Detroit. And one of my friends is one of the marketing people for Mission Design, and she goes to their career fairs and stuff and helps like build the content around their career fairs. And these two interns that she just brought on stopped at her table and they were like, we were only stopping at tables that had women at them.
Interesting.
And I was like, why did you do that? And they're like, because why would we want to work for a company that, you know, can't understand some of the things that we go through as women? And like one of the things she brought up, she's like, I can't go up and ask a guy for a tampon. Like, I can't do that. Like, so how do I talk about those things? Like, I'm not going to feel comfortable talking about those things. Frankly, I don't want to talk to a guy about those things. Like I'm more comfortable around women talking about that stuff. And I just thought it was really interesting that these two students made that point. And so they stopped by Mission Design, and now they were, I don't know if they're still there, but they were interns for Mission Design, and they absolutely love their experience. And I just think that's a really good thing to think about for companies. So if you're at career fairs, maybe think about who you're sending and like what knowledge they have, where they work. And like, if you don't have someone, like if you're not a diverse company, okay, so what can you do to make it more diverse? How can you make people comfortable to approach you? I don't know, that person in the crowd, you were giving him an answer, but if he's too scared and intimidated to be that person, to be that voice, then what can we do as a whole culture of manufacturing and engineering? How can we help them be more comfortable to be that voice? Like who can mentor that person to be an advocate? So I think it's all connected and it's all kind of like a chain of series of events. Like we need to support one another and be cheerleaders for one another. And, you know, I can only speak about women. I mean, I can speak about guys, but like, I understand what women are going through in male dominated industries because I went through it, and it's not something we're making up or it's in our head.
Like, yeah, no, I wouldn't assume that.
But I feel like some people, and I'm not saying you, but I feel like some people have been like, oh no, this doesn't happen. Like, we're not like that. We're not like that at all. And it's like, but you kind of are. So it's okay. Like, let's fix it, moving forward and progress forward. So I think having like uncomfortable conversations is important. I think we need to stop getting so offended by every little thing, because I think that's a thing now where everybody's just offended by everything, and just really like allow people to ask questions, especially if you think they might be a dumb question. It might not be a dumb question for the person asking it. So just allow them to ask it and have like, there's a book out called Crucial Conversations.
Okay.
It's such a great book because it gives you really good tips on how to step out of your own personal experiences and like how to look at the whole picture and really bring a conversation back to respect, understanding, and compassion and empathy, instead of getting so like stressed out about it and offended and, you know, insulted, because not everybody's out to like fight everyone.
Most people aren't.
No, right.
And it's a lot of time it's our own insecurities that are like revving us up.
And we need to Stop that.
Yeah, tap that down a little bit. I think it's great. Like my daughter, one of her favorite classes was they combined geometry and woodworking, so it was one class. Yeah, amazing, right?
I would have been so much better at geometry. I feel like
Yeah, yeah,
in
same.
high school because I sucked at that class.
Right. So they were able to like learn a concept and then apply it into doing something. So she got to use power tools and build
That's
like
cool.
all kinds of things. And she excelled at the class. And all the boys, I'm not going to call you out by name, I expect better out of you. They weren't good at it. Like, so she had to like tell them, no, guys, this is what we're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to do
Yeah.
it. Like, she was really able to take charge and do that. But she got to learn manufacturing while learning
That's cool.
geometry. And she did well in the class. She got frustrated with the class because her group got done ahead of time and she overachieved.
That's okay though.
It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if we could do, and the other thing is too, is like if you see something bad happening, call it out. Like don't
Sure.
just ignore it. Be like call it out. Or if you see someone that's being shy and like reserved and not speaking up as often, as encourage them to speak. So we were at another event in Arizona and they had a first robotics team come and kind of display in front of the organization just to
Yep.
kind of like look at their robot. And the girl that was part of the team was sitting in the back with her arms crossed.
Very interested.
Like, no, she was part of the team. So I was just like, well, what did you do? And like, I started asking her, like, I pointed at her and I'm
Okay.
like, what did you do? How do you fit in this picture? What were your responsibilities? And sometimes the guys would overtalk her, like talk over her, and she just kind of go like this. So I finally said, everybody be quiet. And they all looked at me and they're like, what? I said, be quiet. I said, I'm asking her the question. Let her talk. So then she started talking. So then I was like, why are you standing in the back? Well, and I said, I don't know. Like, come up here. I'm talking to you. So she like came up and I said, do you want other women to join this robotics team? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, then you have to be that person to invite them. And you have to show how confident you are, because if they see you unsure of yourself, then they're going to be unsure.
Right.
And it's a lot of responsibility and it can be intimidating, but I'm starting to see more and more women like, wait, yeah, that's right. Like, that's correct. So, there's a shift happening where before, I don't know how long you've been in the industry, but women used to like compete hardcore with each other, like just nasty. Now you're seeing a lot more women like, no, let's support each other. Here's these resources. Let's, this can be for this person. Like they're referring business to one another. It's really cool to see. And I'm starting to see that among the younger generations where, yeah, girls are getting a little bit more confident. I think social media sucks because I don't know if your daughter was on any of those channels, but my daughter would like go through all of like the consumer products and stuff and like judge herself based off of what those just dumb. But it was a problem. So I just told her, I'm like, look at other channels. Like stop or give me your phone. Don't look at like because so it's kind of like this double-edged sword that I'm seeing, but it's refreshing in this industry because more women are supporting each other. So I like that.
And that's great, right?
Yeah.
You love seeing all the different women's organizations and but it's also great to have the men supporting the women in the organizations.
Well, and I always tell guys, I'm like, okay, so Women in Manufacturing has a summit every year.
Yeah.
I went to it last year and there was over like 1,500 women in a room. It was awesome. It was overwhelming but it was awesome. I think I counted 5 guys that I saw.
Listen, I wouldn't think I'm allowed there.
No, you're allowed.
But based on the title, I would not assume that I'm allowed to be in that room.
But you are allowed. So it's up to us to invite you guys as well and to say, hey, yes, there's going to be a lot of women there, which I don't see why any guy would like have an issue with. So like come join the conversation. And now there are women events where they're doing like ally panel discussions where they're asking guys to speak too. So I think we do definitely need to do a better job inviting different people to come to these events, but we also need to do a better job of where we're asking them to speak at the events too,
Sure.
because they're still part of the conversation.
Sure.
Yes, you can still have more like women and everything. So I've had some people like, well, why can't I be on Mavens? I'm it shouldn't matter that I'm a guy. Well, yeah, it shouldn't, but my focus is on women. If you want to be on, okay, let's talk about how you're helping women grow in this industry. So I've had a few guys on, but I'm not trying to change it to be equal. Like I still want my focus to be on women.
Well, you want to talk to the people that are your audience,
right,
and your niche.
right.
I can say that I have never once thought that I would be welcome to go to a women's function.
No, you are very much so. It's even
that's
those,
miscommunication. Then
there's yeah, it is. But I mean, I think it's promoted the way that it is because we're trying to let women know like this is a space for you to come and network with other women who are in the industry. But again, that's why it's on us to say, hey, Tony, or hey, Dave, or hey, Henry, or hey, Jack, come to this event, meet all these great women that are doing things in industry. Do you have resources for them? If so, you should talk to them and give them the resources. So I do believe we need to do a better job at inviting you guys.
Okay, great.
When we want you there, but if we don't want you there, then we're not inviting you.
See, that's the thing. When we want you there, then you can join
we'll
us.
invite you, but when we don't want you there,
then piss off.
Yeah, we're not going to invite you.
That's fair. It's your organization. You can do what you want.
There was a group of girls of us. We were at Automate in Detroit, and we had a ladies' night out. And we had so many guys like commenting on our post, like, what about the guys? Like, why can't we hang out with you? We're like, we're going here first.
Yeah.
And then you can join us here later on. So like, it's not like we're completely cutting you out. But
sometimes I feel like there's that double-edged sword of things where, this is, the typical thing. If you had an event, you said, listen, this is the guys' night out.
Yeah.
You would have the ladies going, well, that's not fair. We want to be part of that.
I think you would have some women. I'm one of those people where I'm just like, okay, cool.
Bye.
See you later. I'll go do my own thing. Like,
yeah.
Again, I don't know if it's because I grew up in a household mixed with baby boomers and Gen Xers. Life is life, and you make what you make of it, and you can either have things make you upset or you can just move on from it. And I decide to like not be angry anymore.
Atta girl.
If you don't want me to come, I won't come. I'll go find something else to do.
Sure.
And make it better.
Listen, I'll tell you, if I'm somewhere, you're welcome. You're invited.
Awesome.
Let's go. Let's go do that thing. Do you have thoughts on workforce development?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do?
We need to be our own cheerleaders. And I know that there's a lot of companies that have their own strategies and different things, but so the high school that I graduated from, I've actually been there a few times, and they're learning the basics, right? They know what additive manufacturing is. They know what welding is. They know what CNC machining is. They don't know the extent that CNC machining can get to, though. They're only working with like 3-axis machines.
Right.
Additive manufacturing, they don't have the large additive printers because their budget, you can only get the small desktop ones. They just started a robotics program, I believe, this year, or they're hoping to start it this year. So they're only learning the basics, and the teachers aren't necessarily trained on industry stuff that's going on. So they know the basics as well too. Their welding teacher is actually fantastic. He was in the Navy. He is a certified welding inspector. He has like a PhD. So when kids go through his class, they get their certification before they graduate. So if they wanted to get a welding job after graduation, they could get it. Because he's getting them certified, which is awesome. So I think manufacturers, either one or both, go into the schools, introduce yourself, do a presentation for the classes that are in the VOTEC programs. 2, open up your doors and make a huge day, like a big deal, and invite not just the students, but community members as well too. Because if you're looking for support to get more talent through your doors, you're going to need the family support. You're going to need the community leader support, the banks, the car dealers. Like, you need everybody's support. So don't just make it about, oh, well, we have to just focus on these places that teach engineering and manufacturing. Get the whole community involved and have them come in and show them what you're doing. Make a big deal about it. Buy them food. Like, just make a big deal about it. The other thing is too, is like, you know, these trade shows that have all of the major manufacturers going to and spending ridiculous amounts of money on the booths and stuff. Sponsor transportation and bring kids to the shows. So I'm working on getting sponsorship for a robotics team and 40 to 50 high school kids to come to IMTS. I brought them in 2022. They absolutely loved it because they had no idea how big robotic arms could get. And Fanuc had that large yellow robot with the car, and it like made all of their day. Like, they thought that was the coolest thing ever. They had no idea that houses were being 3D printed and that they're like planning on colonizing the moon or whatever. Like, they were showing demos of that at
They're going to colonize the moon?
Like putting houses up there or whatever. Like, I don't know what they plan on doing with it, but they had like a demo where they were making these like huts or houses that could fit on the moon. So like, okay, you blast everything off in space with the atom, you get it set up, and then that's what makes the houses up there, is basically what the concept was. It was super cool.
It sounds very cool. I just don't know about living on the moon.
I don't want to live on the moon. I'm fine here, but the scariest thing I've ever done is skydiving, and I don't know if I would be able to go in a spaceship and land on the moon.
I think I'd like to try skydiving, but I don't know.
It's fun. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
Patrick from UTM, that dude is crazy. He's got this awesome curly mustache. He's like bald. He's got this awesome curly mustache. He's like a skydive instructor now. Nice. He's done like hundreds of jumps. He wears those stupid wind squirrel suits and does that thing too.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He's like, when are we going to go? I'm like,
I think that's cool.
I don't know.
He's awesome. I was supposed to go on the 19th, but I have my kids, so I can't go. But I was going to go again because I love it. But that's the other thing. Like, how can you connect kids? And I call them kids when really most of who we're targeting is young adults. But how can you connect them to real life applications, like things that they're using every day, to the processes that you have in your facility? Go to career fairs, sponsor kids to come to events like the Women in Manufacturing Summit, or there's another.
Only when you want them there.
Only when you want them there. Well, I'm talking about younger girls. Like, and we talked to Nicole Walters today. Yeah. We were talking to the girl at the front desk. Like, she had no idea what was involved with manufacturing.
She just wanted a simple internship.
Yeah, and she fell in love with the things and she was making sales. Like, that's awesome.
Right.
So
at 17 years old.
Right. So that, like, invite them in, let them try things out. I did an interview not too long ago, and one of the gentlemen was from Denmark, and he is like, people are going to love playing with something. So if you could like bring something to them that they can like touch and feel and like see working, he's like, I think that sparks the interest. And that's what we need, right? We need to spark the interest so that they keep asking questions and they remain curious, and then they'll follow that journey. And he is like, but if we're not sparking that interest, they're never going to be curious about it and they're never going to pursue it. We also have to stop with this narrative, and I know it's getting better. I'm hoping it's getting better, but like all of like your son and then the girl at the desk, they're immediately going to college.
Right.
That's not for everybody.
It's not.
So how can we help kids be okay with their decisions after high school? Because I know some parents are like, you got to go to this to be successful. And I talked to a mom and she's like, no, I just let my kids, like, I tell them, number one, just be happy. If you need to take some time off of school after high school to figure out what you're passionate about, go do that. Take, odd jobs, figure out what you like to do. Do you want to do hands-on? Do you want to do this? I think we also need to like kind of look at the German apprenticeship and bring that more.
What does that look like?
I don't know personally what it looks like. I just have heard a lot of.
They do a good job.
I've heard they do a fantastic job at bringing kids into the workforce at younger ages, and then having them continue that all through their education, and then they basically have the workforce after they're done with school. I did work with someone who went to Germany and kind of experienced it, And the knowledge that he had and the hands-on experience that he had was like awesome. He knew every component. He knew how to put things together. He knew how to problem solve. Like he was on point with everything, and he learned everything through the apprenticeship he went through Germany. So I feel like we need to bring more of that here, but I don't know necessarily what that looks like. Tony Neary, she works for SME. She's doing a panel discussion at IMTS for the Manufacturing Ally Rally, and that's one of the topics they're going to be talking about is early exposure and education. So how can we bring like to like kindergarten, how can we teach them about programming machines? Well, color code something, like have them push buttons. That's like the basic part of it.
Yep.
And then it's not necessarily talking about career and like the technology and stuff, because they're not going to care about that. It's really just about exposing them to something, sparking that curiosity, and then maintaining that throughout their school career.
Yeah.
So I think there's ways we can change the curriculum a little bit. We also have to figure out how to help our educators as well too. So Matt Goosey, I don't know if you heard of him, but he does a really good job at connecting teachers with the stuff that he's doing in his own shop. So like he invites teachers to come to a shop. They learn how he does things there, and then they bring that knowledge back to the kids, and they also have that really cool program where the students are actually making like smaller components or different parts for actual companies, and they made a business out of it. So the kids are getting paid while they're making this, and it's actual stuff that they're selling to the customers.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think I've never been there, but I think it's like a whole layout of a shop floor. So they have like shipping and receiving and order intakes, and then the machines that are making the parts, and then they ship them out. So
I keep thinking there needs to be a show. I wanted to do a show, but I have so many things in my brain. It's that ADD thing that we were talking about. I wanted to do a show that was like a combination of How It's Made, Duck Dynasty, and Orange County Choppers. You take all those together, and I think you'd have a thing, right? Because nobody cared about custom choppers until there was a cool show that showed custom choppers and what went into it. And then everybody wanted to do that.
Yep.
And somehow you have to make manufacturing sexy. You have to make it the thing that people, not sexy like ooh la la, sexy like attractive, like I want to be part of that industry.
Yeah.
That's cool to me. Like there's so much, people don't know how anything is done, or how they just know they like order it on Amazon and it shows up. But there's no like idea of how did we get from nothing to something? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And to be able to tell that story, the stories, right? And have the crazy characters that are in manufacturing showcased, and who these people are that are actually making the stuff or coming up with the stuff and inventing the stuff. I think it would open the doors for parents to say, hey, that looks like a cool thing. Hey, that looks like my kid acts just like this person. Maybe they would fit into this space.
Well, I heard a story. I went to an event in McHenry County, and they had a girl stop by their tables for a career fair, and she was asking them about underwater robots. And the mom was just kind of like looking around, bored, and just whatever. And the girl that was at the table was like, "Oh yeah, we have this program." And the mom just kind of looked at her and goes, "Wait, what?" And she goes, "What?" She goes, "You work with underwater robots?" She goes, "Yeah." And she goes, "I thought she was making this up." She thought underwater robots wasn't a thing. Like her daughter just made it up and was like, so then she started asking questions and was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea like any of this even existed. And yeah, so again, I think, you know, some of the older generations are used to that dirty, dark, dull, dangerous manufacturing that, you know, some of us grew up with. Yes, some of that still exists, but there's so much more to it now than what was 5, 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
I think the other thing is too, because we had that glitch in the late 90s, early 2000s where manufacturing took a huge hit. Some parents don't think it's a stable place for their kids to find a career. So we got to change that narrative as well too. But making things cool, I did hear a story that one of the ways to like test the strength of airplane windows was to shoot frozen chicken at it.
Frozen chicken?
Frozen chicken. I have to look that up because I don't know if it's true, but someone's like, yeah, they do this for testing. And I'm like, What do you mean I shoot frozen chicken at the airplane window? So if you have Google, if you're look that up.
Jack's gonna look this up for us. She's
I
gonna
just
double
thought that
check
was
it.
the funniest thing ever. But like, yeah, if you wanted to, and like it's birds, right? Like
Sure,
my
yeah.
story about it.
I mean, you're not
Yeah.
gonna hit a chicken
But
with the plane,
planes
but I mean,
do
it is a bird. Yeah.
encounter birds. So
Yeah.
like you have to make sure that the window is strong enough. So if that's actually a thing, like, I want to go see that company and watch them do it.
If a plane encounters a chicken, we got problems.
Right. What? Yeah. Is it actually frozen or do they like defrost it a little bit so it's more? I don't know. I just thought it was funny when someone told me that. And I don't know if it's true. They just were telling me. And I'm like,
I like to hope it's true.
I do too. But like, I think there's that side of manufacturing. It's kind of like the Mike Rowe series.
Yeah,
Dirty
absolutely.
Jobs.
Yeah.
I had no idea a lot of those
Right.
jobs existed. So, okay, what are some of the ways they test things? Like, how crazy can we get here? Like,
And Mike Rowe is doing an amazing thing for
Yeah.
manufacturing. You know, he's got different programs and different scholarships and all kinds of things. And to hear how passionate he is about it, Jack, what did you find?
is it real?
Hey, Jack reports that it is true. They shoot
so
frozen
awesome.
chickens to test window integrity of airplanes.
This website says they put this thing at the window of the aircraft and shoot a dead chicken at about the speed the aircraft normally flies at.
That's
That's
awesome.
a fast-moving chicken.
That's so awesome. Now I feel like I'm on the Joe Rogan podcast because you're like,
We got a
Jack.
guy. This
Yeah,
is
we got a
great.
guy.
Yeah.
Check that out. That's super funny. Now I want to go see that. I want to see that.
All right. Well, let's figure out where that is. Road trip, because I want to see that too.
That's awesome.
We'll have to do a joint podcast watching chickens get shot at windshields.
And what engineer came up with that? I want to know that guy.
He was like, they're sitting in a room and he's like, what can we do? What can we do? We could shoot chickens at windshields. And they're like, they're never going to go for that.
Because then you need to make the device that shoots the chicken.
Right.
Like, is it like a typical cannon? Like, what kind of firepower is that? Like,
Right.
How are you shooting?
You think it was like a really frustrating meeting? Like they're all sitting around and they're like, we need to check the windshield strength. How? Well, let's shoot a weight at it. Well, the weight is solid and a bird is like fluffy and it's, you know, squishy a little bit. And they were going around and around. Like
But
an hour later, some dude was like, just shoot a chicken.
Just shoot a
And
chicken.
they're like,
Could you imagine
"Oh,
that
a chicken?
conversation happening among students? Because there is that egg project where you have to figure out how to drop an egg from so many feet without
Yeah.
breaking it. So, I mean, it's kind of related.
You think PETA knows about this?
I don't know.
Oh, Jack's got more information.
They do now. They're like,
So that was from the FAA.
Yeah.
And so this one says, although dead chickens were used for many years, the Air Force, sensitive to animal rights activists, now uses birds made of clay and plastic.
Oh, that's less fun.
I
Oh.
think some places use it and some places
well, that could
don't.
be an additive manufacturing thing
Yeah.
now. They can just 3D print.
So they used to use real chickens. And now they make clay chickens.
That's funny though. Like, okay, but what if the chicken didn't go to waste? Like
Well-
you shot it and then fried it. Oh my gosh, I'm being horrible.
Like the
I'm gonna
chicken
have-
just splatters and then you
I'm
got
just-
chicken soup.
Now I'm gonna have so many people mad at me. Like you're so insensitive, and I'm gonna be like,
Listen, nobody's going to see this. It's fine. It's totally fine.
why aren't they gonna see it?
I'm joking. I hope they see it. It'd be
Me
great.
too.
Um,
We're talking about
chickens getting shot
chicken
at airplanes.
chicken
great.
manufacturing,
The chicken gun?
like a potato gun.
It's a giant potato gun with
Have you
chickens.
ever used those?
Yeah.
They're awesome. I use.
But you gotta, I mean, that's a really strong cannon to shoot it. I mean, airplanes, I don't know how fast they go.
That is
Hundreds of
awesome.
miles an hour?
I'm gonna have to do more research on this and reach out to them for a story.
They still use it.
Like, who came up with it? I just want to know. Like, how did you engineer that? Like, what were the questions you were asking? What was your data? Like,
All right. So here's what we're going to do. Before you say no, hear me out. We are going to take a potato gun
okay.
and make it bigger. And then we're going to stuff a chicken in it. Like, could you imagine that conversation?
Yeah. I know I can't. Like I think that's and then because they had to be sensitive to animal rights and stuff, which I completely understand. Like I'm not against that at all.
I know you
Like
hit 2
now
birds today and you're
that was not my fault. But now like you have the whole how do you make the clay pigeons or who's
yeah.
manufacturing those for you and like what are the parameters for that? Like so many questions. See, this is why I'm a writer because now I'm just like making up stories in my head about how these. You can make a book about that.
I can't wait to read the story you write about chickens getting shot at airplanes. That's going to be a thing.
I have to figure out who does it so I can call them up for an interview.
Yeah, you should do that. Let's talk about something that I think is very difficult. Work-life balance. What does that look
geez.
like?
I don't know. Sometimes I think it's like a crock, but
It's a crock.
yeah,
It doesn't exist.
So there's a couple like talks that I've gone to with major CEOs who've been moms and single moms and stuff. And, there's this concept of like, oh no, I combine work with my personal life. And that's
Sure.
great if it works for you. I can't bring my kids on trips. Like I can't do that. I
Yeah.
can't. I mean, I've brought my daughter to a few places, but not everybody has the capability of doing that. But I think we live in such a fast-paced society where we feel like we have to work all the time, and I'm trying to not do that. So I'm trying to be like very mindful of what projects bring me the most value and learning how to say no
Yeah.
more.
It's a hard word. It's a small word, but it's a hard word.
It is really hard, especially if you're really passionate about what you're doing. So like I think setting up healthy boundaries is the way to go. So me being a writer, I have to have days where I have no meetings.
Yeah.
Like I can't do that. Like I can't have meetings at all. So in my calendar I have certain days where no meetings whatsoever. And I'm getting a lot better like following those boundaries because before I'd be like, oh yeah, I have room. I can fit you here. Now I don't do that anymore. But
Sure.
I think you just kind of need to go through your schedule, figure out what's important to you and learn how to say no. Keep your focus on the things that bring value to you and make you happy and don't feel like work. Because if you just start taking the projects that really don't have any value to, then it's going to start feeling more like work and then you're going to take that out on your family. But I cut back on my traveling, believe it or not. A lot of people are like, you're everywhere. And I'm like, I know, but I actually cut back a lot on my traveling because I have a 5 and 6 year old at home too. So I try to make it where I'm only gone like 3 days out of the week. And I try to only travel once a month now.
Okay.
So still a lot, but
yeah,
I try to.
It is a lot. I think work-life balance it's a difficult thing. I am not great at it. I've gotten better at it because I've had people tell me like, you're going to get burnt out. Like you need to take some time off. You need to, recognize that you're going to get burnt out and what that looks like.
Yeah.
My wife is watching and she says no skydiving for me.
It's really
See?
fun.
But Meaghan says it's really fun.
She should go too. It's really fun.
That's not going to happen. But
it feels like you're diving in a painting and you don't get that drop sensation because you're falling at the same speed of gravity. So you literally feel like you're floating.
I'm sold. I think we should go do that.
She's going to kill me.
What was I saying before I read her thing?
What were we talking about? See, that was my ADHD.
This is the ADHD.
That was my ADHD. Oh, work-life balance. You said you're getting better.
I don't care. I am getting better at it. I think being able to separate some of that stuff and what's hard is I have so many different passions, and you look at how do I get this stuff done? How am I going to run out of? I'm going to run out of time if I don't do it. And I think it was like when we were at lunch today, right? We were looking at the clock, and they were slow with the food.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're never going to make it back in time. We're never going to make it back in time. And we didn't. And it's okay. Like a few minutes later, a few days difference, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Like you need the downtime. And you need to be able to focus on other things in life than just work.
Yeah.
And, whether that's your kids or like one of the things that we tell everybody that works at Alliance is like, Family's important. We don't
Mhm.
want you to miss your kid's baseball game or whatever that is. Like, go to the game.
Yeah.
Just leave a little bit early and go to the game. It's more important to do that.
I think that's cool because some companies aren't flexible like that. The CEO of Siemens, Barbara, do you know her?
I don't know her.
So I heard her speak, and she loves her grandson to death, and she talks about him quite frequently in some of her conversations that she has. And she said, sometimes I get calls, and people want to have a conversation with me, and I tell them I'm busy, and that's it. I'm busy. I will get back to you when I can get back to you. And she goes, they don't have to know that I'm on a hayride with my grandkid. Like, they don't have to know. And I think that's the other thing too, is a lot of us kind of over explain things that we're doing because we feel guilty for saying
Yes.
no. And I think, no, just say no. I can't get to that right now. I will let you know when I can get to it, and then just prioritize. So there's different strategies out there to do those things. Like for me, like I try to focus on the top 3 to 4 things I have to get done in a day. Because sometimes not sometimes, all the time I get distracted and interrupted. So I try to just keep my to-do list very short and focus on what my top 3 to 4 things are. And then if I don't get 1 or 2 done, I move that to the top of the list. Kind of like a Scrum thing with that Scrum process or
Sure.
Kanban thing. So yeah, I just do that. But I don't want my kids not remembering that I've been home. So like
Sure.
5 and 6, I think is a really cool, fun age. So if I decide not to do something because I'm going to go outside and play with my kiddos, that's what I'm going to do. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to regret it anymore.
When Jack was young, Kelly and I worked at home. We had a design company. And so it was great. Like, we spent all day, like he was all day. He could come upstairs, and even Grace too. She'd come upstairs. We'd hang out, we'd go to
Yeah.
the park, go for bike rides. And then we would start working at like 8, 9 o'clock in
At
the
night?
evening,
Oh,
and then work through the night, because it
Yeah.
worked for us. We got to have family time. We got to do what we needed to do. Sometimes we would work during the day, but we could focus our energy on where we thought our energy needed to
Yeah.
be focused. Now, we didn't make much money, so there was that. Yeah. But I think our family is strong because of it.
Yeah.
And to me, that matters more. So
Yeah.
we're fine.
Well, I mean, we talked about this before too, like the whole money situation. I have to follow my gut instinct. Like before, I was really good at ignoring my intuition and my gut instinct, and I thought I had to work, and I got burnt out. Now I'm like more in tune with like my intuition and my gut instinct. So I'm gonna hang out with my kids because I know the money is gonna come when it's supposed to,
Yeah.
when I need it to. So I don't know. I just don't fret about that stuff anymore. Like I got way too stressed out when I
Yeah,
thought
of
about
course.
money all the time.
Well, plus you're just gonna, like, if you make more money, you're gonna spend more money.
Right.
Like, you can stress yourself out about it, or you can, Jack's favorite verse, seek first the kingdom, right? Like, you have to put your focus where your focus needs to be.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it'll come. Whether that means riches, no, but the gifts that you need to be able to do those things that you need to do to accomplish what you have to accomplish.
But I still think it's an interesting topic too, because there are a lot of younger generations that want that flexibility for like they don't want to work their entire lives. They actually want to enjoy life. So more companies I've heard are like talking about flex schedules and then like different kinds of benefits. So like one of the things when I was working with companies, I didn't mind making less money as long as I could get some sort of help with childcare.
Sure.
And that was okay with them. So they're like, oh yeah, we can help you with childcare. Or I didn't mind making less money if I could work from home 2 days out of the week.
Sure.
So I just feel like I know that some companies can't run that way, but like what sort of incentives or, benefits can you provide to your employees that make them really excited to be your employee and want to come into work every day at their top level of energy? So I don't know, something as simple as giving them an extra week for maternity leave or something might be helpful, or if they got to leave early to pick up their kids from school. I just think those conversations are important to have.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see changes.
Yeah. You mentioned childcare. One of my favorite things about COVID was when Jessica used to bring her kids in the office, and they would show up and I would stop working. I just played with them for like 2 hours so she could do work. We recorded stuff on podcasts. We just hung out, and it was so much fun.
That's awesome.
Now, not everybody has that ability to do that, but
Right.
I want to be mindful of your time because you have to go pick up your son.
No, I have to bring them to an appointment.
To an
that's at,
appointment.
like 4:30.
So let's do something fun. Jack, you want to do our fun thing here? We got some questions that Jack came up with.
Oh, this should be fun.
Well, and
We can't hear if there's music. You'd have to tell us if there's music.
It's a quiz. I suck at.
All right.
it's in order, right?
Yep. All right. So this is. Did you find them?
Yeah.
5 questions if you dare.
If you dare.
Yeah. Question number 1. Would you rather only eat pineapple pizza or never eat pizza again?
Never eat pizza again.
You don't like pineapple?
It should not be on pizza.
No?
Not at
Have
all.
you tried it on pizza?
It should never. Yes, it should never be on pizza. It's really weird.
Would you rather, I'm going to change this a little bit. Would you rather have pineapple pizza or grilled calamari?
Oh my gosh, I'm so mad at you right now. Grilled calamari.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Would you rather scoop soup with a fork or twirl spaghetti with a spoon?
I feel like I could do the fork thing better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
Well, because if it doesn't work, just pick up the bowl and drink it out of the bowl.
We had that conversation. Jack said, no, you have to scoop it. You cannot pick up the soup with the bowl. You can't pick up the bowl.
I guess it matters if it's like chunky soup or not. So if it's tomato soup, no, I would rather do the spoon thing. But if it's like a chunky soup, like a stew, then
It's fair.
yeah.
Okay.
It might be.
How you get the spaghetti caught on the spoon?
I mean, you could twirl it in the bowl and then I don't know. That's a good question. Now I'm gonna go home and make spaghetti and just trying to figure this out. I
All right.
think that would be fun.
Yeah. Question 3. Would you rather do you want to be a millionaire or Deal or No Deal?
So be a millionaire?
No,
or-
be on the show, one of the game shows. Who
Oh.
wants to be a millionaire or Deal or No Deal?
Probably Deal or No Deal because millionaire is more like trivia and I suck
Yeah.
at trivia. So
That's
I
we've
think I'd
all
be-
said that.
Yeah, I think I would just be better off picking cases.
Random. Yeah, I would agree.
Random numbers.
Yeah. Number 4. If animals could talk, what would be the rudest and why?
The rudest animal?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good question. The rudest animal. I don't think. I would probably say a
I love it.
cat.
That is easily the number 1
I
answer.
think a cat would be so because they're rude without even talking.
Yeah.
Like they're such jerk. Like I've had 3 cats and I loved them all very much, but they were jerks. Like they were really mean.
And they creep in your house.
Well, not if you have an indoor-outdoor cat.
Well, yeah.
I had one of those.
Okay.
And what annoyed me about her is she kept killing everything and bringing it back home and leaving it at the doorstep.
She was giving you gifts. That's not rude.
Or she just thought I was incapable of taking care of myself, so she
Oh.
thought she was feeding me.
Oh.
Rude, right? Like,
I mean, that's a
she's
lot of
so
you,
rude.
you're giving the cat a lot of credit to think about all that stuff. This woman is pathetic. She can't fend for herself.
Here's
I'm gonna
your
bring her a mouse.
Food, eat it. Well, and we had she was a crazy cat. I had a Maine Coon cat. He was
A
like
what?
a Maine Coon cat. He was like my favorite out of all the breeds that I've had because he acted more like a dog and he was just huge.
Yeah.
But the orange cat that I had, she was like the worst. She just was a snob and like if I wouldn't pet her, she'd bite my feet or my hand.
Rude.
Yeah, she's just really mean.
Okay.
She's such a mean cat.
All right. Last question. Do you think there are more doors or wheels in the world today?
More doors or wheels?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some things that have wheels have doors on them.
But some things with wheels don't have doors. Like rollerblades. There's no doors on rollerblades.
This is true. I'm going to stick with my answer. I'm going to say doors.
All right. That's fair.
What did you think?
I think you can make an argument both ways. I think my answer was doors. And then Jack,
maybe it's wheels.
pushes me and says, well, yeah, but what about this? You're a door guy?
I'm a door guy.
Okay.
Well, now I'm starting to think about, because you have rollerblades and skates, and then you have
Bicycles.
bikes and cars and wagons and carts, and you have robots with wheels on
Yeah.
it now. That's a great question.
But then you have kitchens with doors on all
Right.
the shelves with no wheels.
That's true. Are you counting cabinets?
I mean,
as
doors. What constitutes a door?
Like, is it that kind of door, or is it cabinet?
Locker doors.
I would think it's something that has like a hinge, or like it has door in the name, like garage door.
If it has
Okay.
door in the name, that makes it a door.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty fair.
I think that's fair. So, okay, doors. I'm going to stick with doors.
Doors,
How do we
all right.
find this out?
I really don't know. If you have thoughts and you made it this
Yeah.
far in the show, let us know what you think there's more of, doors or wheels
Doors or wheels?
in the world.
Because airplanes have doors and wheels. That's weird.
They have both. Yeah. Yeah. That's really all the questions I have.
That was fun.
Did you enjoy that?
I did. Thank you.
That's good.
We got serious and then funny. And
Yeah, I had a little bit of everything.
Really?
So, if you want to talk to Meaghan, LinkedIn, is that a good way for people to contact you?
LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold of me. It has my contact information on there. It also has never mind. I'm not going to say that. They can figure it out.
We're not going to edit it. So just pretend like you didn't hear that.
It has my contact information on there. Otherwise, you can go to Instagram as well. And but LinkedIn is a good place.
Cool. And if you want to be part of the show, we want to hear your story. We want to talk to you. We want to have some ridiculous fun with you. 5 questions. It's really, what do you want to share? What do you want the world to know? How can we help you find success? And if you're interested in being part of the show, or you know somebody that is, you can email Jack at johntdemakis@gmail.com. Yes, his name is John. He goes by Jack. I hope that doesn't confuse you too much.
That confused me. Why?
I don't know. Apparently, Jack is short for John, even though it's the same amount of letters.
They named me John and then called me Jack.
Yeah.
So that's a them thing.
My dad is John, and it's a Greek tradition to, like, you're supposed to like go back and forth, name your kid after your dad and then your grandfather, so the name just keeps swapping back and forth for generations. We didn't do that right either, but Kelly really liked the name Jack, and so that was our compromise there.
Your email's John, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I got confused when I first got here, because you said Jack, and I was like, who the hell's John then?
Same person. He did that to his teachers.
That's
some
funny.
classes he would be Jack, some classes he would be John.
That's awesome.
So then they couldn't complain about him because they didn't know who to talk about.
That's awesome.
Your mother says my wife says that the Googles say that there are more doors. I didn't know that would even be a thing on Google
That's
to be able to ask, but that's a reality. So if you want to be on the show, that's how you do that. What else do we have to say? Oh, do you have any prayer requests?
Prayer requests?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, a couple. So, Brian Warren is one for his son.
Yes.
And then I always like to say myself, because I could use a little work in certain areas, but to anyone that's just basically struggling and not knowing where to go, because I do have a lot of friends who suffer from like mental health issues, and I've lost a lot of friends because of mental health issues. So anyone that's struggling with anything and thinks there's nowhere to go.
That's fair. I don't see anybody online, so I will assume that it's just the three of us.
Hey, it's been
talking about
fun.
this. Yeah. So I'm
They're
gonna
lost.
pray, and then we can wrap this up. We pray at the end of every show because I think it's important, and
That's awesome.
it's my show. So
I'm not judging you. I think that's awesome.
well, thank you for not judging me for that. That's great. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this opportunity to talk with Meaghan. Thank you for my new friend. Thank you that we got to spend some time together and laugh and talk about things that kind of matter, when really serving you and bringing you glory is what really matters. So we just pray that you would be with Brian and his son and the struggles that they're going with, and that you would make people aware of that, and that your will would be done in that situation, and that you would give them the strength to navigate whatever that looks like, that you would give the doctors the tools and the knowledge that they need. We just pray for all the people that are struggling with whatever it is that they're struggling with, because we're all struggling with something, that you would give them the ability to get the help that they need, and maybe that they would reach out to you, and that you could be their cure. And we just pray that you would be with all of us that are listening, or in our cars, or whatever that is, because we all need a little bit of help. And we give this time to you, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Meaghan, thank you for being my new friend, and for coming on the show, and having a little bit of fun with us. Hope you enjoyed yourself a little bit.
It's been fun. I appreciate it.
Good.
Love it.
That's a wrap from us here in Wakanda. I want to thank you all for watching and listening and being part of the show. Yeah, do me a favor, tell somebody else to watch it. Because we're just trying to tell the stories and keep the industry growing and improving. And the only way we do that is by letting people know what we do. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.